All right, let's talk about something that is, and I'm not exaggerating here, the absolute backbone of quality in the pharma world, the document control system. Now, if you're thinking this is just about writing stuff down and sticking it in a file cabinet, well, think again. It's so much more than that.
Okay, just picture this for a second. You're on the floor of a manufacturing plant. Your job is to make a specific medicine. Simple enough, right? But do you follow procedure A or procedure B? What happens when the quality team is on version 2.0 of a critical document, but the folks in production are still using version 1.0? Yeah, it's a recipe for total chaos.
And that kind of chaos, it's not just some what-if scenario. It's exactly what happens when there's no proper system in place. So, first up, let's really dig into what happens when that control breaks down, and that whole foundation of quality just starts to fall apart. You know, the problems pile up, and they pile up fast. All of a sudden, you've got multiple, totally conflicting versions of your standard operating procedures, your SOPs, just floating around. What does that mean? It means every department is pretty much doing its own thing. And that leads to constant errors, critical deviations, and, you guessed it, a complete nightmare when the auditors walk through the door. So, how do you stop that nightmare from happening in the first place? Well, thankfully, there's a really clear, really powerful solution. And that gets us right to the heart of what a document control system is all about. It's designed to rebuild and seriously strengthen that foundation we were talking about. And its purpose is, when you boil it all down, beautifully simple. A document control system is really focused on just one thing: making sure that the right document with the right version is being used in the right place at the right time. That's it. It becomes the single source of truth. It's the bedrock, making sure everyone is working from the exact same set of plans. Okay, that's the what and the why. But what about the how? How does this actually work in the real world? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the key parts that really make this whole system tick. See, a really solid system, it leaves nothing to chance. It maps out the entire life of a document. It starts with, how do you even prepare a new document? Then who gets to approve it? That's a huge step. From there, how do you get it into the hands of the right people? And it doesn't stop there. The system also has to control how changes are made, what you do with old, retired documents, and, this is critical, how you save all the records so you can trace everything back. This is a really important distinction to understand: controlled versus uncontrolled documents. So on one side, you've got your controlled documents. These are the official, locked-down SOPs, manuals, and formats. They're approved, they're numbered, they have version control, but then you have the uncontrolled stuff: random photocopies, old printouts somebody left behind, draft copies. Now, let me tell you, if a regulator finds one of those lying around on the shop floor, that is a massive red flag. Why? Because there's just no way to know if it's the right approved procedure. So you're probably thinking, wow, that's a lot of documents, a lot of versions, a lot of rules. How on earth do you keep track of it all? Well, that's where the single most important tool for control comes in, and it's called the Document Master List. And here's a great example of what that list actually looks like. Think of it as the central registry, the master index, for every single controlled document you have. It tells you exactly what the document is, what the current official version number is, and even when it needs to be reviewed again. This list, it's basically the command center for the whole system. All right, so we've got this robust system, we've got the master list at its heart, but where does the rubber meet the road? Where does this all get put to the ultimate test? Well, all of this structure, all of this control, it all points to one of the most high-stakes moments in pharma: the regulatory audit. And I'm telling you, when a regulatory auditor walks in, one of the very first things they're going to ask for is your document master list. Seriously. Its accuracy, its completeness, that sets the tone for the entire inspection. It's their first clue as to how seriously you take quality and control. Because if that master list doesn't line up with what's actually happening on the floor, trust me, they will find out. The most common audit failures are things like, finding multiple SOP versions still in use, or documents that are missing the right signatures, or expired documents just sitting at a workstation, and of course, records not being stored correctly. These are literally the exact problems a good system is built to prevent. But on the flip side, when the system is working, when that foundation is rock solid, oh man, the benefits are just crystal clear. You get amazing consistency because everybody, and I mean everybody, is working from the same playbook. That in turn leads to consistently high product quality. And what happens then? The number of errors and deviations just plummets. And this really brings us to the most important thing I want you to take away from all of this. It's this idea right here. Document control isn't just paperwork. It is the very foundation of regulation and traceability. It's not about being bureaucratic for the sake of it. It's about building a solid, reliable, and defensible foundation for absolutely everything you do. So that really just leaves us with one final question to think about. Is the foundation of your quality strong? Something to consider. Thanks so much for tuning in.